Thank you, Mr. President. I welcome the presence of the Secretary General in this very important moment in the history of the Security Council. The Secretary General, in his statement yesterday, mentioned that the Cold War is back. That is exactly right. People of the world, follow the path of the United States. Submit yourselves to the will of the United States. If not, we will attack you. My colleague, the distinguished representative of France, announced that the aggression of his country, along with the United Kingdom and the United States, was carried out on behalf of the international community. And if that is the case, I wonder which international community is he speaking of? Is he speaking of a real international community that actually exists? Is that international community that you represent? Has it authorized this trilateral or tripartite aggression against my country? Did your governments receive a mandate from this organization from this international community to attack my country? First of all, read the provisions of the United Nations Charter. Define and recall the responsibility of these three states in maintaining international peace and security rather than threatening it. I have three versions of the Charter, two in English, one in French. Perhaps these three states should reread what the Charter actually states. These three states should realize that after 7 years of a terrorist war that was imposed on my country, a war carried out by these three countries and their agents in the region, their missiles, their planes, their bombs will not weaken our determination to defeat and destroy your terrorists. This will not prevent the Syrian people to decide on their own political future without foreign intervention. And I will repeat this for 1,000th time. Your effort, and as I just said, I have three examples of the Charter. And I would ask the Secretary to distribute them to the three delegations so that they could maybe enlighten themselves in their awaken themselves from their ignorance and their tyranny. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to draw your attention to those of you who are attached to international law and to the Charter, that this aggression is another message by these three aggressors to the terrorist groups. For these terrorist groups to continue using chemical weapons in the future, for them to continue committing their terrorist crimes, not in Syria, but in other countries. There's no doubt about that.
To the three aggressors, I say that you are liars, you are spoilers, you're hypocrites. The air defense system of my country countered with a great deal of bravery the attack on my country. 100 missiles were destroyed. They did not reach their target, and yet at the same time, the American Minister of Defense, the military chief, spoke to the American press and international press and were extremely pleased. They weren't able actually to answer many of the questions, and it was rather pitiful to see these two men standing before the press, unable to respond to the legitimate questions of a journalist. These countries have shown their conviction for the law of the jungle and the law of the strongest at a time when they are permanent members of this Security Council, a body which is entrusted with the maintenance of international peace and security, and to stop any aggression in accordance with international law. Syria is disgusted with the scandalous position the Syrian Arab Republic is asking the international community, if it does indeed exist. We've heard a new definition of the international community. We demand that the international community and the Security Council condemn this attack, which will only further tension in the region. It is a threat to international peace and security throughout the world. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are committed to international law, I call upon you to imagine with me this meeting where the Security Council would have agreed on such an attack. I'm wondering what would be said. We have no legal basis for attacking Syria. We have no proof of the existence of this chemical weapons attack in Douma. But let's forget that, put that all aside. And in point of fact, we never really needed in any military action that we've carried out, we've never really needed international law. And then I'm just imagining this discussion. I'm imagining what this discussion would have been like yesterday. This military attack is necessary for us and for our allies, so that public opinion in our country can turn their eyes away from our own political scandals, and so that the Emirates and the Gulf pay the price for this. All of that to defend and protect the terrorism that we've seen for years in Syria. Thank you, Mr. President.